It is time to talk about Star Wars again, not in the vague maybe someday, Jimmy, that we've been doing for years. This time we're talking about an actual, real, moving forward Star Wars movie, one that has a lead actor attached, a director attached, a timeline set, and somewhat of a clear focus. We're talking about the Rey Skywalker film. Now, depending on where you stand with modern Star Wars, you guys can let me know in the comment section. I read every single comment on every single video, and I'm sure it's going to get pretty spicy. That determines whether the most hopeful step forward is this film. Is this going to be the step forward Lucasfilm needs to take? I mean, or is it a project walking directly into a minefield? So today I want to slow everything down and I want to break all this apart. Not just the surface level stuff, not the headline recaps we've seen. I want to dig into what we truly know and what we don't know, what this movie actually needs to accomplish for the Star Wars fandom, and honestly, why this project is happening now instead of 5 years ago. We also need to talk about the elephant in the room, the leadership shift at Lucasfilm. Kathleen Kennedy is out, and Dave Filoni is now the creative face of Star Wars, and that changes absolutely everything about this movie. Whether or not you're pro Filoni or not, I promise you, things are going to be different. Now, they may not be different how you want them, but they are going to be different. So drop a like, make sure you guys are subscribed, and before we get into Rey specifically, which we will, we have to talk about where Star Wars has been, because the last time we actually saw Star Wars in the theaters, this is crazy, 2019, Rise of the Skywalker. And ever since then, the movie side of the franchise has been stuck in neutral. We've had multiple films announced, multiple films canceled, directors hired, directors fired, release dates that came and went with nothing to actually show from them. At one point, I'm trying to think back, we had a Patty Jenkins Rogue Squadron movie, which would have been awesome. We had a Kevin Feige produced film, which I have no clue what that was, a Rian Johnson trilogy, and then we had mystery projects from different creators, and almost all of that has disappeared. What have we been doing? Well, the footing has been on Disney+. Andor worked, critically acclaimed. Mandalorian worked. I think Ahsoka found its lane. It did for me. Even the animated stuff, The Bad Batch, Tales of the Jedi, it at least gave hardcore fans something to consume. So for years, Star Wars movies felt like less of a priority and more like an idea that Lucasfilm wanted to do someday, which is truly sad if you think about it. If you're like me and you've grown up with Star Wars your entire life, it's really sad. So why is the Rey project so important? Well, it is the first Star Wars theatrical film in development that actually maybe feels real, tangible, and committed to. Of course, we have Starfighter, we have Mandalorian and Grogu, but, I mean, Mandalorian and Grogu is a spinoff from the series, and Starfighter is its own standalone, completely different story, right? So this is Lucasfilm saying, we're done experimenting. We have to pick a direction. And the direction is moving forward with Rey Skywalker. And when I say direction, I mean the next trilogy. Star Wars is compiled in trilogies. That's how it's always been. That's probably how it always will be. Then you have your one-offs. You have your Rogue One. And like I said, we have Starfighter, and we have Mandalorian and Grogu, and then we have our Disney Plus series. But the big blockbuster type substance has always been trilogies. So on that, Daisy Ridley, of course, returning as Rey. Now, you may agree with that, you may not. I've said in past videos, I like Daisy Ridley as an actor, or an actress. I liked her as Rey. What I didn't like was she suffered from very bad writing and storytelling. I don't put that on her personally. I thought she played Rey Skywalker as well as she could. So I'm okay with this. I really am. And I know we're going to go through the same thing, the same plot, the same substance, the same Rebel versus Empire thing. I know. That's a video for another day. But I'm on Team Rey. And that may be a divisive hot take in the comments. We'll see. I'll see what you guys say. It's 100% confirmed. It's not a reboot. It's not a new timeline. It is a direct continuation of the character that we saw in 2019. At the very end on Tatooine with her lightsaber in her name. So the film is set roughly 15 years after the rise of Skywalker. So I don't know how old she was in Skywalker, but I'm going to assume she was in her 20s. So we can probably say she's somewhere in her 40s now. We're going to jump ahead to a galaxy that's had some time to evolve, had some time to maybe stabilize or destabilize. We don't know. And the core premise, straight from Lucasfilm themselves, is this is a story that will focus on Rey rebuilding the Jedi Order. And I know you're rolling your eyes. I know. We've done this over and over and over. I get it, but hey, it is what it is. That's the foundation. Everything else will be built around that one idea. So who's making the movie? Well, it's being directed by Shinoy, an Oscar-winning filmmaker who comes from a more grounded, dramatic background rather than the typical blockbuster pipeline. The script is being worked on by Stephen Knight, the creator of Peaky Blinders. If you've never seen Peaky Blinders, it is an absolute masterpiece, and I love the fact that we're getting a movie on the big screen, and that combo alone tells me something really important. Doesn't feel like Lucasfilm is aiming for just pure spectacle. It feels like they want this to be a more mature, more character-driven, and maybe even a little more serious in tone Star Wars than the sequel trilogy ever was, which I am 1,000% on board for. Now, when it comes to the release date, the current target date was 2026. We obviously all know that's not happening, so I can only hope that we somehow get this in the holiday season of 2027, but in reality, we're probably looking at 2028. Those dates always shift, but it's always a guessing game too. Now, here's where things get kind of messy. A lot of people are talking about huge chunks of the movie that have actually already been revealed, but they haven't. Right now, we don't know anything. We don't know who the villain is or villains are. We don't know who the supporting cast will be. We don't know if they're going to bring back Finn. We don't know if Poe's going to return. We don't know if we're going to get any legacy characters appearing. I mean, we don't even know what the actual main conflict is. Is this a standalone film? Or will this be the start of a new trilogy? Or is it a standalone that they hope does well, and if it does, then they kick it into gear to do part 2 and part 3, or part 11 and part 12? We know nothing about those things, but I will tell you, legacy characters always appear in Star Wars movies. It would be dumb for Poe and Finn not to return. And as for the villain, I can give you 3 guesses. So all the rumors are out there, and I think it's really important to slow down and admit that we don't know. It's in the creative stage. So everything you've seen online is an educated guess, but that's what we do. We speculate and we guess, which we're going to here in a minute. Now, the most important detail is leadership. For years, Kathleen Kennedy has been the face of Lucasfilm, and to put it gently, her era has been extremely divisive. Some people would argue and say some projects worked. Other people would argue and say most of them didn't. And there was a lot of creative clashes, and Star Wars movies became a revolving door of announcements that never went anywhere. But over the last year or so, there was a shift. Dave Filoni, the guy behind the Clone Wars, Rebels, The Mandalorian, Ahsoka, has become the main creative voice and face of Star Wars. He is now Chief Creative Officer at Lucasfilm. That means a ton for this Rey movie. It really does to me, because Filoni, to me, understands Star Wars as a living, breathing universe. He thinks in timelines, mythology, and long-term storytelling. So even though he isn't directing the film, the reality is he's the boss. This project is now happening under a Lucasfilm that Filoni is in charge of. And I honestly think that gives this movie a much better chance than we've had in the past. I really do. Now, here's the fun part. Let's speculate. This is where I need you guys. Realistic speculation, but speculation nonetheless. So, if the movie's about Rey rebuilding the Jedi Order, the biggest question, the obvious question, what does a new Jedi Order even look like after everything that's happened? We know the old Jedi Order failed. We know Luke's attempt failed miserably. The prequel era Jedi was, I would say, rigid and flawed. The sequel era Jedi barely even existed. So is Rey going to have to do something different? I mean, I think that's really where they're going to try to get the true heart of the movie. Not just bring back the Jedi for the 42nd time, but actually redefine what the Jedi should be in a modern galaxy. And that does not mean modern time here setting for us. Don't redefine it like that, please. Maybe things are different. Maybe attachment isn't forbidden anymore. Maybe emotions aren't treated as weakness. Maybe the new Jedi are even more flexible, more grounded, or more connected to the everyday people in the galaxy. I don't know. We'll have to wait and see. But here's where it gets interesting. The Sith, at least in the traditional sense, they are supposed to be gone. I mean, am I wrong in saying Palpatine's dead? Palpatine's dead, right? Snoke is dead, right? Well, Snoke was Palpatine. Kylo Ren is gone, right? So I think Lucasfilm has 2 smart options here. 2 ways they can go here. They can invent a brand new type of dark side threat, or they could dig deeper into older Star Wars lore. And I can already guess where most of the community in the comments is going to go. You're going to say option 2. You're going to say dig deeper into older Star Wars lore. That's what I think. I mean, I don't know. Other people would say maybe the best move is to avoid Sith entirely. Give us something fresh. Maybe a new Force cult. And I know when I say that, everybody cringes and they think automatically of the Acolyte. I don't mean like that. Maybe a group that believes the Jedi should never return, or a faction trying to control Force users for political power, something like that. Maybe something even older and more mysterious than the Sith Everward that predates the Sith. I don't know my extended lore as much as some people, but I'm assuming there's enemies before the Sith, right? Way, way back. I mean, 25,000 years back. I can't wait for that movie either, Dawn of the Jedi. But yeah, maybe something that predates. I mean, the galaxy, I don't think needs another empire. Do you guys? I don't think it needs another super weapon. I really don't. I think they need to come up with some new kind of conflict, and I know that's not easy to do. But that's where I think they should go. A big question everybody has is, will Finn, if he is in this, which I think he will he become a Jedi? I mean, everybody's wanted to know that since The Force Awakens. It was teased so much. It was dangled right in front of us and then ripped away. The sequels clearly hinted that Finn was Force sensitive, and they never allowed him to follow through. So a movie about rebuilding the Jedi Order? Man, redemption. Perfect place to bring that full circle. Story-wise, it makes sense. The real question is whether or not John Boyega would ever want to return. We've seen the interviews he's done where he slammed Star Wars. He's been vocal about how disappointed he was with how the sequels handled Finn. So narratively, it fits really good. Logistically, I don't know. But then again, he's also said that he loves Daisy Ridley and she loves him, so maybe they could make it work. And then again, we don't have Kathleen Kennedy at the helm now. We have Filoni, so we'll see. I mean, it might be the most important creative decision of all. I know that's crazy to put it on one character, but it could be. So the sequel trilogy, it kind of bounced in tone, right? Film to film. It was serious. It wasn't serious. It was whimsical. It was crazy. It was outlandish. I think this movie needs to have a clear identity. And I think based on the director and the writer, I really, really am expecting a story that's more grounded, more mature, more gritty, more visceral, maybe even more dark, and focused on stuff that really matters as opposed to what we got in the past. I don't think we need nostalgia bait, and I know we're going to get nostalgia bait. You don't not get nostalgia bait with a franchise this big, but we don't need it. Less constant callbacks. We don't need it. Let's put more emphasis on the current character growth and the world building. It's cool to have some cameos. I mean, if you want C-3PO and R2-D2 to continue the tradition, do what you got to do, but don't make the movies about those. If they can actually treat this like a true next chapter instead of a nostalgia tour, which is really easy to do, it could work. So here's where I land. The Rey movie, I think it's risky. I really do. But it's also probably the smartest way for Star Wars movies to move forward. Instead of rebooting, instead of pretending the sequels never happened, because they did, maybe try to build something new out of what already exists, even though part of that is a big fat crap pile, right? With how Filoni is steering the creative ship more now than ever, I feel good about this project. I do. I feel better now than I did 2 years ago. I think the potential's there. It's all down to execution, which is the case with any movie or story. So my questions for you guys is simple. Are you ready to see Rey return? Are you okay with Rey? Or are you on the team no Rey? Who should be the villain or villains? And do you guys trust Lucasfilm to get this one right? Drop a like. I'll see you soon.